In 1972, I met a gentleman by the name of Tom Carroll. And Tom Carroll was Vice President of Marketing and Sales for a company which you all know, Motorola, or you have heard of Motorola. I was talking to Tom, and I knew him being marketing and sales. Can you hear me if I walk away from the mic in the back? Not really. I should hug to the mic. Anyway, I asked him, Tom, I said, Tom, that must be an exciting job. Vice President of International Marketing and Sales, setting up distribution points and marketing and sales in all the different various foreign countries. I said, that must be difficult too. He said, selling is not difficult. He said, we are the leader of technology, of electronic equipment, and he said, whatever we make, we can sell. He said, the difficulty is the transportation, the infrastructure, setting up the warehouses. He said, selling is easy. That's the easy part. Then what happened? Well, in the mid-70s, we started getting a lot of imported products from Japan, from Germany, machine tools, cars. I personally was getting concerned and noticing that the problem of export was starting to decline at that time. As a matter of fact, it really started in 1976, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I saw Tom Carroll again in 1977. And I said to Tom, I said, hey, are you still selling all over the world? He said, well, you asked me what our problems were. And he said, I told you it wasn't selling, that it was the infrastructure of getting the product to the marketplace. He said, today, he said, the problem is primarily Japan. And they have excellent electronics equipment, and they're competing with us, and they're bringing product into the United States. He said, beware. And I said, I am aware. I am concerned. That was 1977. 1979, AeroGear lost its largest customer to Japan. I knew the purchasing director of this particular company. I'd known him for years. I called him on the phone and I said, Bob, I said, rumor has it that we're not going to get any more orders. And he said, yeah, Joe, sorry. He said, you're not going to get any more orders. I said, let me come up and talk to you. He said, fine. So the very next day, I'm sitting in Bob's office, and I said, Bob, why are you buying from us, and what's the problem? What can I do? What can I do for you to place the next order or continue ordering from AeroGear? Bob said, I'll tell you what, Joe, he said, I wish I could, but I can't. He said, I'm buying from Japan. And I said, from Japan? Oh, come on, Japan, their products they fall apart. Their quality is no good. How can they manufacture there, transport it all the way over here? Obviously, they'd have to have a warehouse because we ship weekly to them for their on-time delivery. So I said, come on, Tom, or Bob, I said, come on, go. He says, okay. He opened his desk drawer, threw me out the quotation from this company in Japan. The price on the quotation was, in fact, 30% less than what I was charging them for the products. And I said, yeah, but what about the quality? On his desk, he already had a little packet there with 6 of these gears. They were small gears. So he threw the packet over to me. He says, here, take these. He said, cut them up, bisect them, look at it, see what the quality is. Satisfy yourself. Well, I couldn't wait to get back to the factory. So I gave one to heat treat, and the metalworks collapsed. I said, cut this one up, tell me whether it's even the right material. It's probably not even the right material, and the heat treat is probably inferior. And so I gave the rest of the final inspection at the metrology department, and I said, so check this and tell me whether all the dimensions are there and how accurate the parts are. And within 3 days, the report came back on my desk that the quality was equal to ours. However, the surface finish, or the cosmetics looking at the part, was far superior than ours. I knew that they looked good when I took them out of the package to look at them. They looked like they were ground all over. For those of you who know a little bit about manufacturing, that's an additional operation rather than the normal turning operation. We were using Acme Gridley screw machines. Screw machines use form tools. They don't have a real good surface finish. These, under a magnifying glass, you can see were single point turn. So I'd say, well, oh Lord, They're actually selling them for 30% less. Their quality is equal to ours as far as functional. As far as cosmetics, they look better than ours. That was 1979, if you recall. 1980, I made my way into Japan. I went over there, not with the premise of seeing their machine tool industry, because they did have, and still do, excellent machine tools. I asked the one particular company, I was at Mazak. Some of you know of Mazak, some of you know of Morisiki, excellent machine tools. I said, well, could I see some of your suppliers, some of your vendors, hoping that one of them would be a gear company. Well, guess what? It was the gear company that had taken my customer away. I couldn't wait to go through their factory to see how were they doing this. Every one of their machines they had in this factory were numerical control machines. CNC numerical control machines. That was in 1980. In 1980, AeroGear had 170 machines. Out of the 170 machines, 2 of them were CNC or numerical control. When I got back, I went to the board of directors and I said, we gotta get up to the latest technology. We gotta come into the 20th century. I said, we'll be out of business if we don't. Well, we did 2 things. We started buying CNC machine tools, and secondly, we figured we need to get into the higher tech and get out of the high volume, medium quality gears, which the company was in. And that's when I launched them into the aerospace industry. Oh, 2 weeks after I was back, I got a call from a gentleman who's vice president of Warner & Swasey. Those of you who are old enough will remember the name of Warner & Swasey. I say remember the name because they're no longer around. I guess I may be getting ahead of myself. But anyway, the vice president, Jack, a gentleman that I knew, he was good friends with the chairman of the board of AeroGear. And Jack called me and he said, Joe, I just heard you got back from Japan. He says, I heard you were at Mazak and Morisiki. And I said, yeah. He said, come down and see me. Warner & Swasey, I should go back 1 step, was one of the world's largest machine tool builders in the 50s and the 60s, even in the 40s. They helped, one of the major machine tool builders that helped us win World War II by supplying excellent machine tools back then. Went there, went to his factory, went back to his office and sat down, and he said, Jack said, well, what do you think? I said, I got some bad news for you, Jack. I said, you're going to shortly be out of business. He says, oh, come on, Joe. He said, why? Why do you say that? And I said, Jack, every machine tool that's being built in Japan of those 2 particular companies that I visit, we're making CNC machines with CNC machines, numerical control machines. I said, Jack, I saw 1 CNC machine tool. I said, I saw a bank of lathes with the old overhead belt. They were belt-driven lathes. They had 18 of them, and I said, Jack, you're not going to be able to compete. And he said, well, how on earth did they get new machines in Japan? I said, probably the Japanese government. They know the importance of manufacturing. He said, my Lord, he said, Joe, he said, I've got 570 machine tools here. He said, it would cost me well over $100 million to replace them. Now remember, that was 1980. What would it cost today? Probably about $300 million. So he says, will the government help me? And I said, well, you'll have to go to him and ask. And he said, well, I've tried. He said, it's not going to work. And that was 1980. 1988, their largest plant, they had more than one, but the largest plant in Cleveland, Ohio, shut the doors. A very sad story. As the foreign imports continue to pour into the United States from the various foreign countries, I've got a list, like you know who most of them are. They're still the same foreign countries. I'm getting ahead of myself here. At the same time, the U.S. manufacturers realized with the low wages that are in foreign countries, they started moving plants out of the United States and into the foreign countries. Here again, taking wealth out of the United States, providing jobs in foreign countries, taking away jobs from us here. I mentioned a lot of foreign countries. I'll have to talk a minute about China. I've been there several times, impressed every time I go there, phenomenal. I mean, I looked out, I was in Shanghai in '08. I went back in 2010. I saw out of my hotel room about 18 different cranes building new skyscrapers. When I got back in, that was in 8. When I went back in 10, the buildings were all done. They were all built. I went out to Suzhou, one of the manufacturing centers there, a manufacturing industrial park, not too far from Shanghai. It was in '06 when I was there. It was a 2-lane road. Donkey carts in the way, and you could see them with rice fields, people working the rice fields. The last time I was there, 6-lane highway, 3 each way, with another lane, because there was a total of 8 lanes, for the donkey carts if they wanted them, or they were probably more like mopeds or whatever. The particular plant that I had visited in '06 was a gear company. I went there to see if there was some synergy that maybe we could work together. I was there to see what they were doing. And they had similar equipment than ours. That was in '06. In '06, 70% of machine tools at my company were now numerical controlled and CNC. This particular gear company was about equal to ours. Approximately 7% of their machine tools were CNC numerical controlled machines. I was there last fall. Last fall, every one of their machines were all new CNC. I said, where'd all the money come from? They said, well, we're government owned. We told them we wanted these machines. We wanted this Japanese machine, this Chinese machine, this Swiss machine, and they got them. Well, my government's not going to help me buy machine tools. Furthermore, to make me more ready to throw up, if you will, was I said, what do you pay your operators? $1.36. I'm paying my operators average $21 an hour, with fringe benefits $32 an hour. Entry level can make $38,000 a year, and my top machinists make $90,000 a year. Very, so what are you going to do? I'm going to get to what I think we ought to do.